Hello and welcome back to the Wasteland, everybody. Welcome back to Fallout 3, where today we're going to be taking a look at all of the lever action guns in Fallout 3, of which we have 4 of. So let's talk about each of these and kind of go over the pros and cons to them. And these are going to be kind of all over the place, since at least one of these is definitely an outlier compared to the others. And we're starting off with that one, which is the BB gun. This is actually the very first weapon that you get to use in Fallout 3. And this one is pretty weak, as you would kind of expect. BB guns actually in Fallout tend not to be very weak, at least the unique versions, but there is no unique version of the BB gun here. So BB guns are actually not very common, they're fairly rare, and BBs are also kind of rare, although you can buy them from shops, and they're usually not that expensive. The BB gun for stats does a whopping 4 damage per shot, which is very low, although if you do go and get the point lookout perks right away, it will jump it up to 14 damage, and that's actually decent. It's not incredible, but it is decent. This one does 3 damage per second, not the most. 1 times crit modifier, has 4 crit damage, so also not really high stats there. For some reason this one requires 28 action points to use in VATS. I don't know why the BB gun actually has that much. You would think it would be pretty low, just so that it had something going for it. But that's pretty equivalent to pretty much all the other lever actions. This one has 0.5 spread, so it is actually quite accurate, although the BBs do have travel time just like they do in New Vegas. So if you're shooting at a long distance, you're going to have to potentially aim in front of the enemy. This one holds 100 rounds in it, which is pretty cool. It does hold the most ammo out of any of the rifles, and it makes it so you won't have to really reload this in the middle of combat, probably. This weighs 2 weight, so it is very lightweight, and this has 417 shots, or 417 BBs fired through it before you actually break it. That's pretty decent. Its HP is pretty good, especially considering it holds 100 rounds. So for the general pros of these weapons, kind of excluding the BB gun since that's the first one we're talking about, they do have high damage, again besides the BB gun, and they do have long range. Even the BB gun actually has pretty good long range, assuming that you're willing to lead the shots. BB gun also, I guess, has the bonus of it being silent, so that's kind of cool. The cons to all of these, though, are that they all have a slow rate of fire. None of the lever actions shoot very quickly, which can be a little bit awkward overall. For an overall rating for the BB gun, this one is going to have to go into D tier. It's just not very strong. It is kind of a fun early game weapon, and it can be decent for picking off things like rad roaches, mole rats, and like bloat flies. They're really common, easy to kill enemies. And like I said, if you want to run to point lookout and get those 2 perks, it can be decent because at least then it's 14 base damage, which isn't too bad. It's still not amazing, but it's not too bad then. Move on from the BB gun to the second rifle that we're going to take a look at, which is the lever action. So the lever action rifle is unique to point lookout. You can get these pretty much all over the place. The hillbillies and the tribals tend to carry them around a lot. You can also buy them from the stores there. And this one has a pretty big advantage because if you want to rush this, it actually uses a super common ammo just using the 10mm rounds. And this does have the highest amount of damage for 10mm out of any of the guns. So the lever action rifle does 40 damage per shot, which is quite good. 30 damage per second, still doesn't shoot very fast. This one has a massive 5 times crit modifier though, so it is very, very likely to hit crits. This one does 40 crit damage, which is also pretty good. This one costs 30 action points to be using in VATS, kind of what you'd expect for a rifle like this. This has 0.25 spread, so it is extremely accurate. This one holds 10 rounds in it, and you do reload all the rounds at once, which is kind of cool. I wish the animation was a little bit better for this one, like the reloading animations are for New Vegas, but it's whatever. The lever action weighs 8 weight, so it is kind of heavy for a rifle, but not too bad. And you can shoot 250 shots through this before it breaks. This one is pretty good, besides having kind of low item health, but assuming that you can stock up on a couple lever actions, it uses a super common ammo and it does really high damage. It's also really, really good on a crit build. So this one is going to go all the way up into A tier. I think it's a very strong rifle. Let's talk about the unique version of it called the Backwater rifle, which you get this from completing a quest. This is finding the Chinese spy, and this is basically your reward, or at least your good reward at the end of that quest, since you kind of get another reward and that one's not so good. This one is just an upgrade to the lever action rifle. This one does 45 damage per shot, so that's quite good. This does 34 damage per second, which is alright. Has a 5 times crit modifier, does 45 crit damage. Costs 30 action points, has a big old 0.25 for spread, so it is very accurate. Still holds 10 rounds, weighs slightly less than a lever action at 7 weight, and this one has double the item health, or a little bit above double the item health at 519 shots before it breaks. This one is fantastic, and it's pretty much the best 10mm gun besides maybe Sydney's SMG. There's an argument to be made for either of those, because Sydney's will beat this one in DPS, and if you have a bunch of bullets, which you likely will, you can justify using that. The Backwater rifle is better per shot, though. So I'm going to put this one all the way up into S tier. And then finally move on to the big boy of the lever actions. This is Lincoln's Repeater. And Lincoln's Repeater is pretty awesome. You can actually get this really easy. This is found in the Museum of History. And this one is pretty awesome. This one uses the 44 round, which is probably the most rare round that we're going to talk about today, because BBs are kind of rare, but you can buy them. 44s, you can buy them, but they're kind of expensive, and 10mm are super common. Lincoln's Repeater can also be repaired with hunting rifles, which is interesting. So you don't need other lever actions to fix this up, or you don't need like a merchant to actually fix these up, making it a pretty reliable option to have at pretty high health, since so many enemies carry around hunting rifles like raiders and super mutants. Lincoln's Repeater does 50 damage per shot, the highest out of these lever actions. This has 38 damage per second, still kind of a slow shooting gun. This one has a 2x crit modifier, which is still very good. It's not as good as the Backwater rifles, but 2x is still quite good. Does 50 crit damage, which is very nice. This one only costs 25 action points. For some reason, this one's kind of low on the action point cost, which is nice. This one has 0 spread, so it is extremely accurate. This one holds 15 rounds in it as well. Why it can hold 15 44 rounds and the lever action can only hold 10mm, I don't know, because they seem to be about the same tube size, and if I'm not mistaken, I think 44 is slightly longer than 10mm, at least in our world. Maybe it's different in Fallout though, maybe they're substantially larger, I guess. This one only weighs 5 weight too, it's actually very lightweight, and you get to fire Lincoln's Repeater 400 times before it breaks, but like I said, hunting rifles can fix this up, so your repeater is probably going to be at full health the whole time. This one is really good. It also counts towards a quest with Hannibal. He is one of the escaped slaves, and you can reoccupy the Lincoln Memorial, or you could side with the slavers there, and you could give them this rifle. I would not recommend doing that, though, because Lincoln's Repeater is pretty awesome, and I think it's worth a whole lot more than the few hundred caps that you get from either of them. Lincoln's Repeater is going to go all the way up into S tier, too. It is a fantastic weapon, and if you're running through the main quest, you can actually get it pretty early on, because all you have to do is get to Galaxy News Radio, be sent to the Museum of Technology, and just walk right across the street to the Museum of History, and then you can grab this one too. And this one isn't like a weird hidden weapon like how the Zulong Assault Rifle is in the Technology Museum. Still not sure if I'm saying that one right. But yeah, this one is far more straightforward, and it is a very, very good weapon. So that'll do it for the lever actions. Tell me your thoughts on these weapons. I think they're all really cool. BB gun is cool, but it's not very strong, so I do enjoy it, but I wish there was a unique version of this, similar to how there is in New Vegas or how there was in some of the other Fallouts. Like I think Fallout 2 had a pretty good BB gun that was like quite high damage and quite consistent damage. It would have been cool to get something like that, but either way, tell me your thoughts on these. Thank you guys so very much for watching it. I hope that you guys enjoyed it. I'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye.